I call this session of the Prattville Planning Commission to order. Madam Secretary, will you please call roll?
Mayor Gillespie. Councilman Whiteside.
Here.
Chairman Smith.
Here.
Vice Chair Gardner.
Here.
Chief Johnson.
Here.
Ms. Carpenter.
Here.
Mr. Hyndman. Mr. McAuley. And Mr. Nelson.
All right. We got the minutes sent to us via email. Have everybody been able to go over those? I've looked at them some. All right. Do I have a motion to accept minutes as they have been sent to us?
Chairman, I move that minutes be accepted as sent by email.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All right. We have no new old business. We do have some new business. The preliminary plat of Powell Plat 1. And Ms. Carpenter, would you please read that in for me?
Resolution, Powell Plat 1, January 21st, 2016. Whereas Lewis F. and Faye N. Powell are the owners of Powell Plat 1, and whereas the proposed development is located outside the Prattville city limits at 1615 Highway 14 West, and whereas a public hearing for the proposed development was heard on January 21, 2016, and whereas the required city department heads have reviewed and commented on the proposed development, now therefore be it resolved that the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby gives its favorable review of the submitted preliminary plat of Powell Plat 1. So moved.
Sorry.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I will go ahead and tell you about it. I'm not sure who was set up to come and represent this, although it's a very basic item. You have roughly a 0.88 acre lot that is proposed off of Highway 14 West. That's outside the city limits, but within the city's subdivision jurisdiction. On the location map, it is shown as will be this existing house at 1615 Highway 14 West. They are proposing to divide, I believe for sale, divide this one lot out. As you can see, there are several houses on that one lot. Certainly done well before this was in the city's subdivision jurisdiction. But to properly do it and abide by your regulations, it has to be platted and divided out in that fashion. So, again, no objection from city staff. It has access off a public street. There are no utilities involved. There are actually no new structures. It's just an existing structure. And we recommend that complete the preliminary, which of course requires this hearing that we're having, and then the final immediately thereafter. That will allow us to sign that and allow the owner to plat it and complete their sale.
Okay. Any discussion or any questions for Mr. Duke? All right, do I have a motion to?
Public hearing.
I mean, do we need to? Well, I guess we meant to call questions, but we good? All right. Any questions or?
Mr. Smith, it's actually with the preliminary plat, there is a public hearing required.
Okay.
So
what we need to do?
Before you vote, you need to complete that portion.
Okay. I just didn't see it in there. All right. We will have a public hearing on this matter. Anyone that wishes to come and speak, come on down. I will close the public hearing. Now, on the preliminary plat, is there any discussion on the preliminary plat at this time? Are we ready to vote on it? All right. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. All right. The final plat. Ruben, would you like to read that in for me on the final plat?
Sure.
You can have that one.
Yeah, I got one. Thank you. Resolution final plat, Power Plat 1, January 21st, 2016, whereas Lewis F. and Fay N. Powell are the owners of Power Plat 1, and whereas proposed development is located outside the private city limits at 1615 Highway 14 West, and whereas preliminary plat for the proposed development was approved on January 21st, 2016, and whereas the required city department head has reviewed and commented on the proposed development. Now therefore it be resolved that the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby gives its favorable review of the submitted final plat of Power Plat 1. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Thank you, and thank you, sir. And I did not state a minute ago that it was a public hearing for both the final and the preliminary. Therefore, we'll have a public hearing for the final plat. Does anybody want to come speak for or against or make any comments? The public hearing is closed. Do you have anything you want to add? Okay. All in favor of the final plat, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. All right. Number 3 is going to be Chairman Whiteside. Could you read that in for me, please, sir?
Yes, sir. Whereas David and Larry Avant have submitted a request zone from the property attachment A, and whereas the portions of the subject property are located outside and inside city limits adjacent to Old Ridge Road and north of East Memorial Baptist Church, and whereas the petitioners have submitted a valid application requesting annexation of that portion part of the property described to attachment A, which remains outside the city limits. We'll start. Got me there. Thanks, Mr. President. Whereas David and Larry Avant have submitted a request zone for the property in attachment A, and whereas the portions of the subject property are located outside and inside the city limits, adjacent to Old Ridge Road and north of East Memorial Baptist Church, and whereas the petitioners have submitted a valid application requesting annexation of that portion of the property described in attachment A, which remains outside the city limits, and whereas the portion of the property located in the city limits zoned FAR, FAR, and whereas the petitioners wish to zone all the property to R-3 single-family residential, and whereas a public hearing on the proposed zoning was held by the Prattville Planning Commission on January 21st, 2016. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby recommends the zoning of said property to R3.
Thank you, sir. And this is going to be a public hearing, and so I'm going to encourage and ask anybody that wishes to speak to come forward and speak on this issue and ask us any question you want to. Before we start that, some of your questions might be able to be answered if Mr. Rice would like to just tell us what he's got coming forward, and he can explain some stuff starting, and he can be the first person to talk, and that might set everybody's mind at ease or explain everything, and you can show them the diagram. And if you could speak into your microphone, though, Mr. Rice, into that mic there.
Good afternoon. Excuse me. This is a rezoning request or a zoning request previously that came before this commission as a sketch plan for a new subdivision on Old Ridge Road encompassing, I believe, 93 acres, some odd, approximately 230 lots. The developer of this property is currently the same developer and home builder that is building Glenbrook subdivision, and as discussed earlier, they have seen a need for a different product, a more craftsman style product, less brick, more old world craftsman type homes, and are proposing to move that product into a secondary subdivision located a little farther north of Glenbrook, titled The Ridge at Pratt Farms. In general, it's a fairly common subdivision layout. There are two entrances onto Old Ridge Road, our understanding of which both will need to have full left turn, accel, and deceleration lanes at their completion. There is a large green space area along the northern property line, the southern portion of which will be used for retention purposes, and also a electrical transmission main located parallel to the interstate that will be put into a piece of property that will be undeveloped in perpetuity, as well as an additional, I believe, 60 to 100 foot buffer between the eastern end of that transmission easement and the interstate itself. It also has an amenity lot in the southeast corner that we foresee being very similar to the Glenbrook amenity lot, pool and clubhouse and playground, things like that. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So everybody knows, will this neighborhood have any connection whatsoever to the existing neighborhoods owned by the same company?
No.
Okay.
No, this neighborhood accesses directly on Old Ridge Road on the opposite side of the road.
Okay.
And farther to the north of the church.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rice. Now, this is a public meeting. Anybody is encouraged to come and speak. I would ask you to check in with Ms. Morgan and give us your name and where you live, and come on down here and ask me any question you wish to ask. So it is a... Anybody have any questions? Okay. I'd love to talk to you. All right. Then I will close the public meeting if there's nobody that wishes to speak. Discussion.
I've got one question.
Yes, sir.
This came up at the last meeting, and I wasn't sure, but the area where the electrical power line is going to be, the 160 feet, is that going to be able to be used by the owners of the property there if they want to? Could they fence that and mow it and keep it up themselves, or is the power company going to do that and take care of that themselves?
No, sir. That will be completely separate from this subdivision. It was determined when this project went to committee, it was determined that it was in the best interest of the neighborhood to completely remove that from any lots. We have since taken this road alignment here, moved it in a southwesterly direction, lost a row of lots here, and moved these lots completely out of that easement. So any fencing will be at the edge of the easements.
Thanks. Yeah, I remember that being talked about. Is that green area in the back where it's going to be for the drainage, I guess?
This area right here is proposed for a detention facility similar to what we just did in Glenbrook.
But what about behind it, where you've got all that?
Back here, this area is it's usable.
Is it good for like maybe a walking trail or a bicycle trail or anything like that?
This area probably is right here, probably not a bicycle trail, more of a walking trail. Mm-hmm. This area just north of detention pond, it's extremely topographically challenged. Mm-hmm. Our intention is to leave that undisturbed and leave the old growth timber that's there. We do not plan to take any of the timber north of that line and leave that as more of a true green space in its natural state.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a question. What acreage are we talking about with the green space, and we talking about just leaving it in place? Approximately.
The entire green space is 21 acres. I would estimate that the stormwater area would probably take up 3 to 4 of those acres. So you're probably talking 16 to 18 acres.
Okay.
Just left undisturbed.
And just for the benefit of the audience, the R3 homes, we're talking about what is the square footage possibly per home?
True square footage of the home, I really wouldn't be able to answer.
What about
Just
just
a
the
range.
outside measurement?
An outside measurement?
Yeah, quick down and dirty measurement.
The lots are, these lots are 70, I believe they are, hold on, I've got it on here somewhere. I believe these are like 75-foot lots or 70-foot lots, of which the setbacks would be, you're probably talking about a 55-foot wide home, probably by 70 feet deep, whatever that would turn out to be. I would say that the smallest home in here would be probably just under 2,000 square feet, and the largest would be probably just over 3, something like that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Rice? Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, sir.
The retention pond that was talked about, how is it accessible?
It is now accessible through 2 access points here. Before we had 1 access point here, and it was a little bit smaller. So we widened this out and created an additional access point at this location to access this. We are hopeful to be able to build a very similar wet pond that's actually an amenity, just like it was just completed in Glenbrook. That'll be determined by the geotechnical engineers once we get into the site and find out if the pond will hold water. There are problems in this area, as we all know, with ponds, not being able to, sustain their constant water level.
So, accessibility is for maintenance only, or do you plan on opening that up? Accessibility only, or is it for maintenance, or is it opened up for the general public?
It would definitely be open to this subdivision. Would be open to the members of the HOA. It would not be to the general public. It would be privately owned by the HOA.
Okay. Any other questions from Mr. Rice?
Yeah, just what the noise problem with the interstate, did you look at anything with that, or is it going to be far enough away from the interstate now not to be really a noise problem for those houses in the back?
I don't believe that there will be a noise problem. You're talking about a 160-foot buffer just at the edge of the right-of-way, and then probably another 40 to 50 feet to the edge of the first travel lane, something like that. You're talking about over 200 feet from the back of this property to here. But this will be, fenced as well. Topographically, the best noise buffer that I know of is topography. It works better than trees or anything, really. If I can get this much lower than the interstate or much higher than the interstate, that will be the best solution to a noise problem.
Yes, sir. Mr. Gardner?
One other question, your utilities, your water and sewage, will you be connected to one of the waste treatment plants, or will you be on septic tank system?
No, this will connect to the City of Prattville sewer system. When I believe there's a name, what was the trunk line that was run up here, Joel?
Generally known as the Eastern Water.
Okay. That large trunk line that comes from Highway 14 and comes up all the way through Glenbrook and through the church property stubs out right at this location right here on Old Ridge Road, and this property will all drain to that point from a sanitary sewer standpoint and tap into that sewer trunk line. Now, water will obviously just be, City of Prattville.
You don't want to build us an I-85 type fence like they got along the interstate and going into Atlanta?
Those are awful. Nobody wants those.
I feel like I'm in prison one of those. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Rice? All right. Thank you, Mr. Rice.
Thank y'all.
Mr. Duke?
I believe Mr. Rice has covered pretty well exactly just kind of a review of what you approved as a sketch plan back at your December meeting. Again, it's roughly 93 acres. A portion, everything except about 21 acres on the southern end of this, as it touches Old Ridge Road, is currently in the city, including the billboards. The billboards are zoned presently B1, and they're not a part of this request. The request basically takes what's in the city limits, FAR, and then what's already been requested for annexation, the remainder of it, and asks that that be zoned R3. Again, that's consistent with the sketch plan. It's consistent with the city's master plan as discussed at the December meeting. Glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Duke, is all that in Watauga County?
Yes, it's all in Watauga County.
Any other questions from Mr. Duke? Thank you, Mr. Duke.
Thank you.
Discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. Gardner.
As of now, I don't see any problems with it. Mr.
All right,
Chairman.
thank you now. I'll
Call for the question.
Thank you, sir. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Is there any new business or miscellaneous items you want to bring before us, Mr. Duke? Mr. Duke, is there any miscellaneous items you want to bring before us?
No, sir. I believe you may have mentioned a committee meeting earlier to me.
Yes, sir. Would you, I turned my phone off in case I got a call. You want to put it the week before our next meeting, the Tuesday, the week before?
Yes, sir. I believe that's what we talked about. Your next meeting is on the 18th of February.
Okay. Let's have it that Tuesday at 3 o'clock. If that's okay with everybody.
That would be the 16th.
What is it for?
The Spring Hill Subcommittee meeting.
And that committee is Mr. Heinman, Mr. McCauley, and yourself.
Yes, sir. So we're going to say Tuesday. What day is that?
That's the 16th.
Tuesday the 16th at 3 o'clock across the street in the conference room.
Yes, sir. We'll see if that's available. If not, we'll find another location.
Okay. That sounds good. If you'll send out a reminder, I would appreciate it.
And Mr. Duke, I think we also have one for the Cottage Community Center, the revitalization, and there was 3 of us on the committee. I think the mayor, myself, and one other. Okay. We could possibly, if your schedule permits you, maybe on Thursday, this upcoming week, maybe 3 o'clock or so. What's a good time, Mayor? You tell me. Say 3 o'clock. No, that's bus time. Let's say 4 o'clock next Thursday. This coming Thursday. Would that be a good time for you, Mr. Duke?
I believe so, Mr. Gardner. Let me make sure.
Or will 2 o'clock be better for you?
6 a.m. is better for me.
6 a.m.?
6 a.m. is good for me.
I think your office will be closed during that time, the mayor.
That's why it's better for me. 2 is better for me.
2 is better for you? I could go with 2. Mr. Mayor, 2 o'clock?
28.
I don't have my calendar.
That's coming up.
28?
Could we, anyway, we could make it 2:30.
Well, you could be late.
I'll be late.
2:30 then. 2:30 is a good time. And we'll be at the annex across the street.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Any other miscellaneous items or new business?
No, sir. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.